let's get started. We are on time, 6:05, not bad. It is my great pleasure to introduce Professor George Mikros. He received his PhD in linguistics from National and Kapodistrian University of Athens in Greece. In his dissertation, he took a sociolinguistic approach to examine variation in consonant nasal sounds in modern Greek. He's currently a professor in the master's program of digital humanities at Hamad bin Khalifa University in Qatar, where he also directs the computational stylistic lab. Professor Mikros has been part of our online faculty for more than 10 years. He's been teaching our introductory class in Linguistics 601 and what has become his signature class, the Phonetic and Phonemic course. George is an inspiring, charismatic educator that definitely highly contributes to the success and the quality of our online program. He's also a generous and responsive colleague, always ready to help the department. And I've been fortunate over the years since I teach the same class 601 on campus. We've been exchanging documents and resources. Professor Mikros is a prolific, brilliant scholar who has authored 5 monographs and more than 80 article chapters in edited volumes and conference proceeding and peer-reviewed journals. In 2018, he was elected as president of the International Association of Quantitative Linguistics and became its president. He's a keynote speaker and invited speaker in many international conferences, workshops, summer schools related to digital humanities and quantitative linguistics. Today, he's going to talk about machine language abilities and how they diverge from human writing. So please join me in welcoming Professor Mikros to UMass Boston.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So it's really a pleasure to be here. This is actually my second academic home, right? I never really thought it's 11 years. I started in 2012, and here we are, 2023, again together. It's been an amazing trip, and I hope we can continue offer the services in the faculty, in the department, in the Masters of Applied Linguistics. So today I wanted to share with you some current research I'm into related with large language models. ChatGPT, it's a word that comes to our mouths, and especially for people who work in linguistics. I think this is the ultimate challenge, right? We have a machine that at a certain point seems to be able to produce language in a very convincing way, in a very human way. And this is a first for our known history of natural language processing. So one of the things that actually hit our attention is that the text that these machines are producing are completely indistinguishable from humans. You may have heard that many colleagues, my colleagues say, I can tell if a student has used ChatGPT in a snap. Yeah, maybe. But the truth is, the evidence shows that these texts cannot really be identified, or can be identified under very extreme conditions. But on general, these texts are the same in terms of perception. Now, as all here we are scientists, the first thing we have to ask is actually to doubt it, right? We have to research that. So this is a research that challenges the assumption whether we can actually find some things, some linguistic features that can help us identify this text as AI written text. And in order to do that, we are going deep. And when I say going deep, we're searching for linguistic features that are completely quantitative. Search for linguistic features that are most of the times being used in a frequency that is that large that people cannot really control. These are called stylometric features. We are using this many times for identifying authors, right? When we have a text and we don't have a signature outside with this text, we use these features to somehow infer who is the real author, right? So we're trying to analyze the author named ChatGPT in this case. Okay. Yeah. So here's the profile of this talk. We will speak about the human perception of AI writing. I will share with you some recent results of empirical studies, whether humans can actually tell the difference. And then we will speak about the statistical characteristics of the language of ChatGPT. Then we will go to the AI writing detection. I think this is something that all of us, faculty and students, really need to learn a little bit more. And I will present you some experiments. I have developed an AI detector, AI writing detector, so I can share with you some insights. And we will compare different large language models. We don't have only ChatGPT. We are also examining linguistic outputs from Claude, Llama, and a couple of others language models. And the reason why we are comparing these models is because we are interested to find out whether all these AI tools are producing the same kind of language. You know, they have a similar generative machine underhood. And this is what we are trying to find out. And then we will, of course, discuss some open questions about the future of linguistics in the realm of large language models. So I won't go into details what is ChatGPT and how it works. Very, very briefly, it's a statistical or stochastic model, language model. And that means that you have an algorithm that runs over a huge training set, a corpus of many, many billion words. In fact, GPT-3, the last model we know, the actual corpus, was 500 billion words. Billion, right? This is one big corpus. So you have this huge corpus, and the algorithm, the only thing that the algorithm tries is to try to predict the next word in the sequence. So given a sequence of words, what's the probability the next word to be a specific word, and creates matrices of probabilities. And these matrices of probabilities are integrated, and then with another technology called transformer, the system learns not only the probabilities of the next words, but also the probabilities of the words quite distant from the actual word we are looking for. So this is why GPT-3 and 4 produces coherent text, because it knows the statistical regularities of the words, not only in the context and the immediate context, but also in long-range dependencies, which was something that Chomsky told us at a certain point that this would never happen. And actually it happened. Now, this is the basics. The real interesting stuff is that if you have a GPT-3 or a GPT-4, and you actually you have a GPT-3 and you have working there and producing outputs, right? You prompt and you get responses. There's a huge probability that this model will produce outputs that you don't like. You really don't want to mess with them. For example, in 2016, an earlier model from Microsoft was released free on the Twitter, And we know that after 3 days, Microsoft had to take it down because started to be really abusive, racist. At the end, it was telling all the time that Hitler was the best man in the world, right? So it was a disaster. So there's a missing element here in the large language models, right? They produce good, acceptable linguistic output, but sometimes the things they say, they're not really aligned to human values and human culture. So we have this procedure, and this is the novelty that OpenAI introduced. And that's why ChatGPT was so much successful. So what they did is what it's called RHLF, or reinforcement learning from human feedback. And it's a three-phase procedure. So they have the model, produces, they prompt it, they get outputs, and they have humans, actual humans, say whether these responses are good or not. And these results somehow are getting fed back to the model. So the model is retrained, having taken into account the human preferences about the responses they get. Now, a second phase comes when the new model, the updated, again, it's been interrogated, it's been queried, and you have answers. But now humans do not just say, this is good, this is not good. They rank them. They rank them, and the first output, the one that has been ranked first, is considered the most useful, and goes like that. The second, the less useful. So this also goes back and retrains the model. And at the end, the third phase is that all this supervised classification, as we call it in NLP, goes back into a policy, where the policy is actually, the model is rewarded if it responds nicely and with outputs that are human aligned, or it is being punished if it is not behaving. When I say reward and punish in neural network world, means some elements, some edges, and some parts of the elements are being amplified. And when we say punished, is that some specific connections in the neural network are restricted, right? This is the whole idea. So this made ChatGPT really useful. This is what happened, and still now, although there are so many jailbreaks and you can make it say bad things or whatever, still, however, it keeps a very good quality of interaction with humans. And you had this one, which is called, I would say, the ultimate technological disruption in this in the human civilization. So ChatGPT got 1 million users in record time. Netflix took it 3.5 years, Twitter 2 years, Facebook 10 months, Spotify 5 months, Instagram 2.5 months, ChatGPT 5 days. And there is no previous record of something like that. If you want to say what is a technological disruption, this is the definition, right? In 5 days. And of course, it's all over. Great. What it can and what it cannot do, this table changes every time I do a lecture. So it became with a huge difference here. The limitations were so many, and it's getting less and less and less. You know, the most important, I would say, I will focus on the concerns. The most important is the hallucinations. That sometimes, many times, it does not get factual responses. The factual data are not there. If you ask it for a literature review, right? You're preparing your literature review in your thesis, and you ask ChatGPT, hi ChatGPT, can you write me? Yes, you will get a literature review, which is completely bogus, right? There's nothing there. Names, valid names, sometimes valid dates, but most of the times the actual citations are non-existent, right? sometimes also not only hallucinates, but is kind of behaving weirdly. It can tell you something, and the next time it can say something completely different. So it's not something that you should actually use it for academic research, especially when you need facts, right? Other thing, it's not environmentally friendly. This is something also that we have taken into account. It's a huge carbon footprint, huge, really. It's not secure, and your privacy is not really, I would say, secured there. Couple of months ago, BART, another language model from Google, actually leaked all the discussions that users had with the model in the index of Google. So whenever you were searching something on the Google, and let's say randomly you hit a term that's related to your discussion you had the whole discussion coming as a result. And you can tell how important and how dangerous sometimes this can be, right? And they have not solved it yet. And of course, there's finally the danger of inequity. And you know that so many countries do not have access to ChatGPT. And some others might have, but it's kind of difficult to have an easy access there. It's due to the internet problems. Africa, for example, right, does not have good access to that. China is completely out of the ChatGPT and goes on like that. So let me share with you the perception test. I think this is one of the biggest research that has been done. 4,600 participants, 7,600 self-presentations. So this was a very simple experiment. People were asked to tell the difference, whether a text is a human or AI written. And they did that in 3 different topics. So the first topic is hospitality. That is Airbnb profiles. Here is dating, Tinder profiles. And here is professional self-presentations, LinkedIn profiles. So they got half of them from the actual sites, and half of them were written by ChatGPT. And the accuracy of humans, of these 4,600 participants, is going here. 52, 51, 51. You know, it's flipping a coin. It's binary distribution. It's literally they cannot tell. However, most of the people actually had a very confident idea and opinion about what features AI AI writing demonstrates. So we have they asked these researchers asked them about what do you think are the indications that might be related to AI writing, and one of them was nonsensical content, repetitive content, conversational words, grammatical errors, rare bigrams, long words, second person pronouns, swear words, authentic words, words related to the past, and so on. So people, although in essence they cannot tell the difference, are very confident that they can tell. So here's the very interesting twist. The researchers took these features and created updated, enhanced prompts and asked ChatGPT to create answers using these features. So create an answer that has long words and uses second pronouns. And so took this, put it in the prompt, and here are the results of the second perception test. And this is, I think, really interesting. So you have human here, okay, AI rate, and the optimized prompts here, they are considered more human than human. And you see here in the Airbnb, in Tinder, in professional, in LinkedIn, and overall. So people not only cannot tell the difference, but they can be persuaded that a specific output is more human than human if it has been written by ChatGPT. So we are really in trouble, right? Okay, so what I did is it's called stylometric profiling. It's my core research the last 20 years, and I consider ChatGPT as an author, right? I don't know his name. Let's say it's ChatGPT, awful name, but is an author. And what I did here is to treat it as an author, right? So I collected a corpus of ChatGPT essays and human essays. These were matched in terms of topics, so they had the same topics, so they were completely related. And the first thing that the quantitative linguist does when it has this kind of corpus, checks for what we call Zipfian fit, or the law of Zipf. And the Zipf law is one of the very basic quantitative linguistic laws, relates to the way that word frequencies are decaying over the ranks of the vocabulary. And you can see here, this is the theoretical curve. And here are the actual evidence from human and ChatGPT. ChatGPT is with the blue line, and you can see it's even closer to the theoretical curve. So both humans and ChatGPT create statistically the same text, the same quality text. We examine the distribution parameters, it's the same. We examine the word length, this is very frequent stylometric feature. So how many big words or small words on average? It's the same, non-statistically significant difference. The same with sentence length. Uses ChatGPT and humans use on average the same distribution, not only the average, but distribution. That means that the generative machine behind it pairs very well with the human competence. And even more, I would say, specialized quantitative linguistic indices like the H index, which is quite sophisticated. Again, ChatGPT matches completely human linguistic outputs. And then let's start to find things, features that are different. And the first thing we found out is that two specific part of speeches, the adverbs and the pronouns, are different in ChatGPT and humans. Humans use statistically significant different adverbs and pronouns, more of that. And then we found another thing that was very, very different. It's called perplexity. Perplexity is a very close concept to entropy, which is overall, it's the amount of surprise that the linguistic model has when it meets a linguistic output that has been produced by another model. So if I am AI writing machine and they present me something that another writing machine has written, I'm not that surprised. It's something that more or less I could do. But if I am presented with something that's completely different than me, then the perplexity increases. So what we found here, we used GPT-2 as a model of reference. And when we presented outputs of GPT-3, the model was not that surprised, right? Because it was the model recognized the other model, right? And in humans, in the human outputs, it was really surprised because, you know, we humans produce very, I would say, unpredictable words when we are trying to write, or our words are not that restricted in terms of what it comes next. They can, but not that much. And then there were some surprises in this research. So we did sentiment analysis, and sentiment analysis is about automatically detecting the sentiment, the polarized sentiment of the text. And we found out, and that was really interesting, that humans have a huge negativity in their text, huge. While ChatGPT, look how short is the bar, right? It's not negative at all. On the other hand, it's neutral compared to humans, and it's positive compared to humans. So have a ChatGPT that is not negative at all. It pushes the sentiment of the text to the neutral and positive emotions. We did a little bit more. So we did emotion analysis, and this is a wider range of emotions: surprise, sadness, neutrality, joy, fear, and anger. And what it comes here, it's actually confirming the previous finding that the emotions, the extreme emotions, belong to humans, right? The neutral emotions belong to ChatGPT. Why? And the first thing is that comes to your mind is, of course, robots do not feel, they don't have heart, they don't fall in love. Yeah, okay. Go beyond that. What you see here is the result of RHLF. What RHLF did is actually restricting the emotion spectrum of this model. Why? Because we don't want negativity from the model. We don't want to share. We don't want to, hey, ChatGPT, I want this, and say, no, I don't want to give you any answer. I'm too tired today. You don't want that from a model, right? So RHLF is suppressing the extreme emotions of the output, which for us is very useful because we can exploit this to see whether a text has been written by a machine or not, because the textual machine will not have extreme emotion. Okay. Personal pronouns, again, the difference comes here in the first personal pronoun, in the first personal pronoun singular and plural. Why? Because ChatGPT avoids to say I or we. It's always on the third plural, third singular. So overall, we calculated over 1,000 features. And we came out to this specific table. What are the characteristic features of AI writing? Big words, right? Words bigger than 7 characters. Very frequent conjunctions. A lot of additive connectives. Content words overlap, packed content words inside the sentence. Standard deviation of the average length, not the average length itself, but its standard deviation. That means how it varies over the text. And higher readability, less Kincaid grade level. ChatGPT writes academic text, not high school text, right? Now, what are the features that are lower compared to humans? Perplexity. Of course, GPT-2 is not surprised by the GPT-3. Paragraph length. The paragraphs of ChatGPT are lower, smaller. It cannot really control the concept of paragraph as humans we do. Standard deviation of the average word length, how it goes up and down. Frequency of adverbs and personal pronouns. Past focus. ChatGPT avoids to speak about the past, right? It doesn't have past experience. Quantities and contrasts. Deep cohesion cannot, the cohesion of the text cannot go through many sentences before and after, and low lexical diversity. So these are the core features that generate right now, as we know, GPT-3 and 4 from humans. Okay, so let's detect, right? Can we detect it? Can we use machine software that we just upload the text and that's it? You know, we get like an index or whatever. Let's see what are the 3 main methods. One is stylometry. That means we try to measure the things you saw. we see the differences, and then we are feed them in a neural network or another machine learning algorithm, and the system responds, right? And say, this is AI, this is human. Transfer learning. This is something more modern. We fine-tune actually a large language model to be able to tell the difference. So we don't give them features, we just feed them with text that we know are for sure are ChatGPT, and some text that we know that they are humans, and we tell them, find the difference. And the neural network restructures itself and produces the output of this is the answers, right? This is human, this is AI. And the last one is watermarking. And this last one actually was considered a hope initially. Now it has been completely abandoned. Watermarking can be used in images and videos where you can insert pixels, which are completely invisible, but you cannot do it on text. So we are working mainly on stylometry and transfer learning. And I did something like that. I'm very proud. 96% accuracy in my detector. Great. Normally, I wouldn't be here now because I would have like $1 billion, a startup. I had solved the problems, and since I'm still teaching, something weird is happening, right? Okay. Yes, it doesn't work. Easy. This is my impressive charts when I go to conferences. Wow, George, you did it wonderfully. Yes, nice discrimination. However, these are statistical models, right? The moment you get the output from large language model and you edit it, because nobody really just copy paste, right? Takes the text, go into the word editor or the Blackboard, change some words, submit, right? This is what people are doing, okay? And the moment you start editing, the statistical model collapses completely. So they are useless, completely. And I'm really shouting to my university, guys, who have Turnitin, you have a couple of other software, they pay for them just to give them something that is not valid, right? And even worse, you know, the old good days before 1 year, you had Turnitin and you had the plagiarism check, and the report you get was highlighted, you know, where it came from Wikipedia, from another student's essay. So there was a source text. Can anyone tell me where the source text is right now? Where it comes from? Can I tell, okay, you plagiarized. Okay, where is the plagiarized source? Nowhere. It's a generation, it's a stochastic generation. So the onus of proving someone that he has plagiarized is to the professor. He has to make the case and say, it came from here, and this is the whole. We don't have this opportunity right now. We lost it forever. So I'm happy to discuss further ideas about how we should move forward. But right now, AI writing detectors is not the solution. Actually, it's part of the problem. Great. And what I did more is actually I checked the ChatGPT for biases. So you might be interested to find out that ChatGPT is American and not British, right? the variability of the spellings is mainly American. It uses gender neutral language. That's interesting. It's, I guess this was created due to the RHLF, so it was corrected somehow. And also something interesting, as author is a woman, right? You can see here, we did the profiling of gender. The males are here, so the percentages are definitely over 0.5. So we consider it it's a human way to write the text, not a male. Although initially, you know, a lot of people said that it was biased, it was a male profiled, and it was pushing male patterns, but it seems it's actually a major female style of speech. Its age, it's from 18 to 40 years old. This is the profile we get. Its personality, that's interesting. So it's introvert, right? In neuroticism, more or less gets the same results with humans. It's agreeable, yes, because does not have any objection. He is instructed to be agreeable to whatever you ask. It's consciousness, and it's less open. It's more resistant to new ideas. This is personality detection, by the way. We do it in social media all the time. We do it to author profiling tasks, and you can get an idea how much Google knows for you from all of you, right? These are parts of the modeling you are all part of. And actually, in the political bias, ChatGPT is left, right? It's much left than center or right. Humans are more center or right. ChatGPT has a preference for left ideologies. Great. And we also compare different large language models, right? Bloom, Babaz, Curie, TextDaVinci, which is the GPT-3, because we wanted to know whether all these models are the same. In fact, are very similar. This is the sentiment, and you can see here the negative, the neutral, and the positive all follow the same pattern. And the emotions. Perplexity. Perplexity is kind of different for GPT-3. It's this one, the green one. But overall, we consider they are part of the same. And you can see here, this is the big words, this is the prepositions. All of them show us that these different models are not that different, right? Going forward. And another thing that we found out is that we cannot really detect the different models because they're very, very similar. So we had very good results in identifying human and ChatGPT, but different models, LLMs are the precision, the accuracy results are very low because we cannot really find enough differences between them. That's why we cannot tell. Great. So some thoughts, right? One thing is, and I think it's a takeaway from this talk, AI writing cannot be detected. And most probably it will not be detected from now on. As long as we don't have any particular reason to believe that these models will become worse, will become better. More, even the RHLF signals you saw, this emotions restriction stuff, they will change over the years, right? They will become better, more human in many ways. Also, and this is quite bold, 2002 was the last year in human history that we were sure that texts were written exclusively by humans. Take a moment and just consider, reflect on that, right? From now on, the last year, we don't know anymore what are we consuming, whether the text that we consume, we read, we enjoy, even some novels that we will see the next year are written by humans or not, right? So the LLM texts feel human, but are not human, right? As you saw, they have some very deep differences that you can detect. These differences will become smaller as the models are becoming better and better, they are developed. But still, we are not really sure the long-term exposure to these models. taking into account literacy, for example, of kids. What will be the effect? Nobody knows. But there will be some effect because we are not consuming anymore the same product, right? It's like having a cheese produced by actual goat and the cheese produced in the chemistry lab. It is cheese. You can feel it, taste it like cheese, but after 20 years, might not be that good for your health. I'm only now assuming, right? But we don't know. And in science here, education, the norm will be the hybrid writing. And I'm not talking about students, I'm talking also about faculty. All my colleagues right now have in one window the ChatGPT, the other the Word, and they're copy and pasting. And if they tell you no, they're not doing that, they lie. Right. So I think it's an interesting time in our culture and our civilization. Definitely, this year is a landmark year. Will be written in history books. I'm pretty sure about that. And we have to sit back a little bit, reflect, develop critical thinking, and prepare for the best and the worst. Thank you so much.